Good afternoon, and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11, and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Here to take a look at the matchup for the World Series slate. World Series Game 5, last game in LA. Kind of a less than exciting game last night. Toronto pulling out the W, ensuring that the series will go back to Toronto. I thought there, could be a little less offense early. I thought there'd be a little more offense late. But overall, the game played similar to the 2018 Game 4 after the 18-inning game. The team that won the 18-inning game in 2018, the Dodgers, also lost Game 4. But we get Blake Snell versus Trey Savage, their second starts of the series. What we do know is obviously Blake Snell had some struggles in that first one. Racked up pitch count early and often. It's definitely a version of Snell that can show up at any point. But what he's done this year so far is bounce back in his following start after something like that. So it's very interesting. This is the first postseason series where he's had to make 2 starts in the series, so the second time a team's seeing him, that's obviously important. Toronto's lineup is going to be pretty important as well. George Springer's status, extremely important. And then, what they decide to do aside from that. If Springer's in the lineup, he's DHing. Then Bo Bichette's got to play second. And then they're basically plugging in like David Schneider and Miles Straw in the outfield for Lucas and Barger, I would think. If Springer is out, I would guess it's probably Bichette at DH and then Kiner Falefa in the infield with Schneider and Straw in the outfield, but there's always a chance that maybe Bichette plays second. They have Schneider, and then they sneak like Ty France, not really, sliding Schneider in and keeping like Lucas in the lineup. I think you're going to see both Straw and Schneider playing in the outfield. But the thing comes into play is like, do they want to try to get Ty France in at the DH spot for some offense against Blake Snell? It really depends on, what they feel about Bichette playing second base. He's had pinch runners in the series so far after 6-7 innings. It's definitely not 100%. He has made one for sure nice play playing second base, and one that probably would be pretty difficult with a messed up knee. So it is very interesting. From an offensive standpoint, I would prefer that they, go the Ty France route if Springer's out, but I just have a feeling they're just going to stick with Kiner Falefa and DH Bo Bichette again tonight. I like Snell in this spot just based on that scenario. If Springer's not in the lineup, that weakens the lineup quite a bit. The lineup does get weakened anyways because, we'd then be looking at Kiner Falefa, Schneider, Miles Straw. Schneider struggled against left-handed pitching this year. So, I don't know, that first game for Snell really kind of shocked me. I wasn't really expecting him to do what he did in the regular season against Toronto. Just because they're putting the ball in play so much, but they fouled off a ton of pitches in that start. And he just then ended up making a mistake, or two. Obviously, Varsho got him for the home run, which something that I'm not expecting to happen because he's been so good against left-handed bats. He hadn't given up a home run in almost a year and a half to a left-handed bat. And the last one prior to Varsho in Game 1 was Juan Soto. So, I'm fine getting back to Blake Snell in this spot. Trust him more than Trey Savage, that's for sure. Savage on the other side did not look all that strong in game one. His final stat line isn't atrocious, but he really, kind of differentiated from his strength. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that the Dodgers are a strong hitting team against splitters from right-handed pitchers. And I think they tried to not have him throw as many splits. And I don't know if it was something that he just wasn't confident in, but then we saw in game two where Gausman didn't throw as many splits as he normally does, and he's super split heavy. So that makes me want to believe that Toronto, as a game plan, is trying to avoid splitters and going more secondary, fastball to slider type scenario. But I think Savage has got to introduce a split in this game, to throw him off a little bit, to just add another wrinkle. Because if you give a lineup like the Dodgers a second look now at just a two-pitch starting pitcher, I think they're lined up to do some damage. I don't really like the walk trends in the postseason here. Start one, just absolutely dominated the Yankees, right? But then three walks in each start since then. I do want to believe that, the Dodgers and Snell kind of bounce back a little bit and go into Toronto up 3-2. But this is one that I can see going kind of either way. Bullpens are in similar situations. Minus the Blue Jays did have to use Louis Varland last night. I could see him not being available for this one, even though he's been used nonstop. I don't know how much Jeff Hoffman got into in the bullpen. I know there was some scurrying and stretching. I don't know if he threw pitches. For Toronto's sake, I hope that he didn't. If he did, that is going to wear on him a little bit more coming into this one as well. Bullpens are going to be really tough to figure out for this game for relief pitchers to use showdown-wise. Before starting to record this, I didn't really dive into them because I don't know that I really want to utilize any of them. Plus, for value, we can just keep plugging in Jimenez, even though I don't like it against the lefty. Hit an RBI single against the lefty. He's got an RBI in 3 out of the 4 games so far. He's just producing enough. And if we got like Ty France or if we get Alex Call in the lineup, which I think the Dodgers make a mistake if they play Alex Call. It's just a gut feeling. Maybe I'm just too heavily invested into Pages, but I think it's probably a bad decision. But we're going to have like David Schneider, cheap enough. I think Miles Straw is still cheaper yet down here. Connor Falefa. Like, if he's in the starting lineup at second base, he's basically not coming out. So that's pretty important. I mean, there's a route where he could, right? Like, when Barger enters the game, they could slide Komet over to second and have Barger play at third. Depending on the scenarios and how the potential matchups in the innings after that play out. But for the most part, if Bichette's DHing, Connor Falefa is going to see 9 innings, and then that makes him a pretty solid option at 3,800 for us. Miles Straw is going to get pinch hit for at some point. Miguel Rojas could be in the lineup for the Dodgers. That's somebody that they were hinting at, him being at second and Edman in center field. If he were to be in there, he's viable. So it doesn't feel like one where we have to force in relief pitchers as our value option. But, like, Braden Fisher's been pretty impressive. Fluharty has a role. He came in a different spot last night, but still looked pretty solid. 3.5 fantasy points, not great, but it's more than just a single, right? Like, 3.5 is above what a plain single is from one of those cheap guys. 2.9 is basically a single. It's 0.1 points fewer. So, that's what we're trying to figure out is there a relief pitcher that can bypass it enough? Enriquez really showed stuff in this one. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets utilized in tonight's game a little bit. Just depending on how the bullpen itself looks. Dominguez had a rough game 3, but was phenomenal in game 1. So it's just not great. Like, every time I look at it, I'm just like, can we trust this? Sasaki probably fine, to throw in relief. Hoffman going to probably be fine. So really, it just depends on which route you want to go with who's winning the game, because I just don't think at this point at 2-2, like, Hoffman and Sasaki are for sure coming in no matter what. They're probably just coming in a tie game or save situation in the 9th. I just don't think Hoffman's doing multiple innings at this point. But we will see. It's really like, if you can't fit a reliever to tell the story that you're looking to do, then you're just going with a guy like Fluharty, who has a role. He could come in at any point. It could be the 4th inning, could be the 8th inning. He's the one that I feel the best about having a precise role. Banda probably has a role, but he hasn't looked good in 2 out of the 3 appearances in the series. I just don't know that they can trust him against some of those lefties. So if that's the case, then, what are the Dodgers going to do against lefties? And it's probably Dreyer, but he threw 2 innings last night, so is he coming back again? 2 strong innings last night. We knew he was going to be available because he only threw 5 pitches the night before. But maybe Dreyer's the guy that they trust against some of the lefties more. I'm not sure. They got to figure something out, though. Robleski, maybe. Didn't pitch last night after 28 pitches, so he's somebody that I think does show up in this game. He's pitched in 2 out of the 4 so far, so he probably factors in at some point, depending on how Toronto has pinch hit for guys or whatever. There could be a spot where it's, Varsho, Barger, and maybe Lucas or Lucas. Like, those guys could be in the bottom third of the lineup. There could be a spot where Robleski makes sense taking on that group, in the 7th inning or something. So I guess Robleski is kind of that guy that does intrigue me, but I don't have a super strong feeling either way. When it comes to hitting, we're just going to keep riding the guys that have gotten us here, right? Like, Freddie Freeman should show up. Muncy, still profiles super well in this spot. Bichette's swinging it better. I just don't love the fact that, we could probably see him come out after 6-7 innings. That's less than ideal. Mookie's got to wake up. The Blue Jays still aren't going to let Ohtani beat him. They did pitch to him last night, but nobody was ever on base. So, in any spots, I just don't expect them to allow Ohtani to do damage other than solo home runs. So it's going to really come down to Freeman and Betts. Mookie's got to wake up at some point, right? He had a couple decent swings last night, so they were encouraging. But I've said that same thing about Pages, where he's had some couple encouraging swings, but now he might not even play tonight, which, I'm going to say I think is a mistake. Kiki, always a big-time guy in big situations. Ernie Clement, just a guy that keeps getting hits. Hitting every game since the 12th. Just keeps getting on base, the plug-and-play cash kind of guy for a showdown. Edman has some good swings, and then he looks atrocious, striking out a bunch. Will Smith, probably pretty solid. His 0 for 4 last night, 1 for his last 10, not ideal. Alejandro Kirk, probably a just plug in. Kind of an every other game thing right now for him. But anyways, there's our first look at the options. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc., I'll put a link in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's R-A-Z, for 10% off monthly. There will be a link to the merch store. Check it out. Check out my hoodie, everything else. Best of luck, everybody.